UFC 326 is only a few days away, and now that I've had time to think about this main event, I'm going to semi-confidently pick Charles Oliveira to win this fight. I think he's going to get this done in round two by submission. And why do I think that? It's a good question. I think the way this fight's going to go is that Max Holloway is going to look damn near untouchable for the first 4 minutes of the fight. Charles Oliveira is going to have a hard time getting past that footwork, getting past the constant feints, and he's just going to be at a speed disadvantage against a guy like Max Holloway. But eventually, Oliveira is going to track down Max Holloway. He's going to grab a hold of him. And that's when the fight gets interesting. I think Charles Oliveira is miles better than Max Holloway in the clinch and in grappling overall. I think Mateus Gamrot is a better grappler than Max Holloway. And I understand their different styles. Holloway is way taller than Mateus Gamrot. And I think he actually might be a little bit bigger than Oliveira. But with that being said, when Oliveira gets to that clinch and gets that single collar tie and starts blasting a couple knees, that's the turning point. Everyone changes after Oliveira lands a few of those knees to the body. And if this fight gets to the ground, I think it gets really, really interesting. I was rewatching Max Holloway versus Ilya Superior. And when Ilya got Max to the ground, he got to Max's back relatively easily. And while Max defended well and got back up to his feet, against the fence like that, if that's Oliveira, Oliveira is pulling a triangle. He's pulling a calf slicer. Holloway can't just stand back up and get back to space. He's going to need to defend submissions. And I saw a stat that I didn't realize was true until I did some research into it. The only person to really attempt submissions officially against Max Holloway are Dustin Poirier and Dustin Poirier. I think maybe McGregor might have tried to pull something, but I think it's really just Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier submitted him with an armbar. Dustin Poirier pulled a really tight guillotine in the trilogy. And I'm just saying, if for any reason Holloway's hunching over, Oliveira's wrapping up a Darce choke. Oliveira's dangerous. He's the most dangerous fighter potentially in UFC history. Because no one has as many stoppage victories as him. No one has as many submission victories as him. And he hits like a damn truck. I think, Max Holloway just beat Dustin Poirier very convincingly. Took him all 5 rounds. Dustin Poirier was clearly washed in that fight. He was older, he was slower, he was moving stiffer. Charles Oliveira fought a much more prime Dustin Poirier. And while he did struggle more in the earlier parts, he dominated as the fight went on. Round 2 was uncompetitive. Round 3, he got the submission. And at the end of round 1, Oliveira started having his moments. He knocked Poirier off balance. He hurt Poirier. And even though Holloway has the much better footwork, Holloway's head movement is questionable. Even in his best fights, in his best performances, when he's fighting a guy like Justin Gaethje, when he's fighting a guy like Calvin Kattar, where these are his master classes, these are his magnum opuses, these are the fights that make him Holloway. Even his last fight against, not his last fight, but his fight before that against Ilya Superior, it shows itself. His footwork is great. He's going to be on fire, but eventually he's going to start getting tagged because he lets his footwork do most of the defense for him. And against a guy like Charles Oliveira, where there is a threat of, if I overcommit to this combination, he might duck underneath and come back up on a body lock. Now I gotta deal with Oliveira on my back for the next 3 minutes. Now I gotta deal with Oliveira just using the body lock to try to drag me out of position. Now I gotta deal with Oliveira using the body lock to rotate and get to the single collar tie and start blasting knees in the clinch. And the more I think about this fight, the more I think the fight's gonna go like this. Holloway's gonna look really, really good in round one. I think he's going to dominate the majority of round one. Things are gonna start to get scrappy at the end of round one. Oliveira's gonna start to find his rhythm a little bit. Round two, Oliveira is going to start to take over. The physicality, the threat level, the danger. Holloway might just need to seed rounds. Just allow Oliveira to have positions, but defend off the submissions. To find a way to dig deep. I think Oliveira is going to catch Holloway a couple times between round 2 and round 3. But unfortunately, Charles Oliveira fights at an absurdly high pace. A pace that is, you can't keep it up for 5 rounds. And if your opponent's still in there, I think he's going to start to fatigue towards the end of round 3. And Holloway is going to take over in rounds 4 and round 5. But I don't think the fight's leaving round 3. That round and a half window where Charles Oliveira is going to be on, where he's Charles Oliveira, where that's Dole Bronx. He's in there fighting for his people with the spirit of the lion. Like, I think that's going to be when this fight ends. I think this fight's going to get a little scrappy. And when it gets scrappy and Oliveira follows Holloway out of a exchange, throwing a combination, cutting off the cage, because Oliveira is one of the best cage cutters in the sport. Cutting off the cage, he's going to touch Holloway at the moment where he's not moving. When he's not moving his head. And Oliveira is going to hurt Holloway. And while Holloway's hurt, Oliveira is going to pull a submission. And Holloway will not be able to get out of the submission. He's getting put to sleep because he's not going to tap. I don't know what submission is going to be. I don't think it's going to be a rear naked choke. I think Holloway's waist is a little too thin to really lock down that position without him spinning out of it. I think this is going to be a Darce choke or an anaconda toward the side of the cage where Holloway doesn't have enough space to get out of it. And maybe he taps, or maybe he just goes out. But I think Charles Oliveira will be crowned the baddest motherfucker in this sport by the end of the fight. But if the chaos Oliveira brings, if the danger Oliveira brings starts to wane, which it probably will once we hit the championship rounds, Max Holloway is going to take over. And he's going to win this fight. If this fight somehow goes to a decision, it's going to be Holloway 48-47. But I think that Charles Oliveira will do just enough and threaten just enough stuff to win this fight. I'm watching the transitions that Oliveira makes. I'm watching the way he does certain things. And the amount of danger that he presents on the ground. I don't know if Max Holloway can stay safe enough and long enough. I look at Charles Oliveira's fights, and even in the fights where he loses, he has success. He has good success. Because he threatens with so much. Against Ilya Topuria, he hurt Ilya Topuria momentarily. Topuria survived that easily. Like, he recovered from that, no problem. But he hit Topuria with a huge elbow. And that definitely put Topuria on notice. Woke him up. He was having great success in the clinch with those knees to the body. I look at Oliveira's fight with even a guy like Islam Makhachev. A lot of people call that a domination That was not a domination. That was the two best lightweights in the world playing a very, very high stakes game of chess. Oliveira used a gambit, and he took a huge risk. And because he took that risk, it didn't pan out and he lost. But that first round is legitimately anyone's round until the last 30 seconds of the round. Oliveira got a takedown on Islam Makhachev. Islam Makhachev got two takedowns on Oliveira. Oliveira had a very, very deep triangle choke on Islam Makhachev. And if Oliveira can get that triangle choke up on Islam, he can pull that triangle up against Arman Tsarukyan. He can spin around to Mateus Gamrot's back. These are all much better grapplers than Max Holloway. And Oliveira is able to be dangerous to them. He pulls a triangle against Islam Makhachev. Islam Makhachev has to force his left arm in there and then break out of the triangle, because Oliveira's triangle choke is so tight, because he has such good technique that he was threatening with both a triangle and an armbar at the same time. You look at this the transition when he was fighting Tony Ferguson. He has Tony Ferguson in mount. Tony Ferguson kicks off the cage. Oliveira takes his back, realizes he's losing the back, and uses it to set up a triangle. Uses the triangle to set up an armbar. These are levels of submission defense that Holloway has never had to have. This isn't Dustin Poirier pulling a guillotine after rocking your opponent. This is a grappler who can flow and float to any position he needs to get the job done. Who doesn't waste energy and time on submissions he knows he's not going to get, and will just use the threat of that submission to float and scramble to the next position. Max Holloway is dangerous. I think he's going to be faster. Oliveira is longer. Max Holloway is a better striker. I don't think Oliveira is that much further behind him. And if Oliveira gets a little too cute, going for his stuff where he likes to showboat, I think he's going to get caught. Because in every Holloway fight, Holloway gets caught. Like, a lot. Because his head movement is... His footwork is great, but his head movement leaves something to be desired. You know, he looked pretty human at the end of round 2 when Dustin Poirier damn near knocked him out. He looked pretty human in round 4. Like, every time Justin Gaethje landed something solid, it had an effect on Holloway. And round 4, he knocked Holloway down. Holloway recovered immediately. But he's looking human at 155. You look at a fight that Max Holloway had, like the fight against Calvin Kattar. And while it was a masterclass, his magnum opus, a lot of people will say, because he landed the most strikes ever in a UFC fight. Every once in a while, Holloway would get cracked with one of the craziest shots you've ever seen. Head spun all the way around. Yeah, he landed 445 significant strikes. Calvin Kattar landed like 150. Calvin Kattar had his moments. Every time Holloway would get a little too carried away, he gets smacked back to reality. That Calvin Kattar is still dangerous. And even against Ilya Topuria, because I thought that was one of the best Holloways we've ever seen. Max Holloway was on fire on the feet against Ilya Topuria. But every 30 seconds, Ilya would hit Holloway with a huge shot. It's crazy that Holloway didn't go down earlier than what he did. And I think against, outside of Ilya Topuria, probably the hardest hitting lightweight in the division right now, it's gonna be a little much. When he gets caught, when he gets clipped, it's not like Dustin Poirier. It's not like Justin Gaethje winging an overhand. It's going to be a tight right hand down the middle. It's going to be a tight hook directly on the chin, while he's not like directly under his line of sight. Oliveira, like, low key, is a striking genius. If you go back and you rewatch the Michael Chandler fight, before the first exchange, Oliveira reaches out with his left hand and cups the right side of Michael Chandler's face. That's the read he needed to know that he's going to have that left hook. Yes, he got rocked not that long afterwards. But as he got rocked, he throws a tight left hook that grazes Chandler's chin. And that is the exact same shot that he finds at the beginning of round 2 to put Chandler down. I just think that Max Holloway's lack of head movement, especially when he exits in exchange, there's going to be a split second, a like half second, where his head is completely and totally still. And that's going to be when Charles Oliveira finds the shot. And even if it doesn't knock out Max Holloway, it's going to leave him hurt enough for Charles Oliveira to find a submission victory. And that is my prediction for this fight. Is Charles Oliveira is going to submit Max Holloway in round 2. Thank you for watching this long. Don't forget to drop a like and subscribe. I'm pushing out crazy content this week. Thank you for watching.